My Leatherman Wave just got a huge upgrade, and I think some of you will really like what is happening with the Leatherman Wave. Now, for a while, the Leatherman Wave has been almost the perfect tool for a lot of people because of all the tools that are inside it. It has scissors, it's got screwdrivers, it's got all these outside blades that are accessible to a lot of people. And so I think for most people, the Leatherman Wave was pretty much perfect. Comes in around 8.6 ounces, which it's not extremely light, but it's not the heaviest tool in the pocket either. And so I think that's what has made the Leatherman Wave so popular over the years. But the one thing it has been, I don't know if you'd say lacking, but that it hasn't had as against, like the Leatherman Charge has had this, was upgraded blade steel. So both the titanium Charge and the regular Charge, you could get a little bit upgraded knife blade. And for the Leatherman Wave, for the longest time, that was not really an option. Now you can. This right here is the S35 VN knife blade that you can put on your Leatherman Wave. It looks really cool. Sort of like the Leatherman Arc. So here you got your Leatherman Arc with that silver and the black blade, and now you've got the Leatherman Wave with the S35 VN. Now you can also put the VG10 blade in there if you so desire. This is the original Leatherman blade, and this is the VG10 blade that you can put in your Leatherman Wave, or I guess Leatherman Charge, or whatever accepts this same blade system. Maybe the curl as well. I haven't tried it in my curl, but I'm guessing it might work. So pretty cool that you can do that. Now, where did I get these blades from? Well, Rock Tool. Do they come exactly ready to put in? No, but they're pretty close, a lot closer than probably you or I even realized. Now, what I had to do to mod this was, number one, the hole right here is a little smaller on the Rock Tool than it is the Wave. But again, as I've mentioned in the past, that's no problem because for about $13 to $15, you can buy a set like this. These are tile carbide bits, and I will put a link below. I forget exactly which size I used on these, but you find the size that comes the closest to the pivot hole. And then it was a lot easier on the VG10 blade. Now the S35 VN, I did have to take a couple extra minutes longer. Could definitely tell that the metal seemed a little tougher on that one, but it still bit right through. Again, I'm just using a Milwaukee, the 12 volt drill that I have, so nothing that super powerful, and it slices right through with these carbide bits. Now with a normal drill bit, you'll be there forever, but with these, pretty cool. So that's the first thing. You go ahead and you make the pivot hole just a little bit larger. It's not much, it's just, I'm talking about just a tiny bit. And then one of the things that was a little frustrating for me is that my knife was on the other side here. So the pivot unscrews on this side, and then you have to take most of this all apart. Sometimes these two halves are really hard to get back together because of the spring action on some of these Leatherman tools. But on my Leatherman Wave, it actually held in pretty good, and I was able to multiple times take this apart, put it back together, because I got the VG10 blade to work first. And then I thought, well, why not get the S35 VN blade to work? And so I have taken this apart multiple times. All right, so you've got the pivot hole, and then the next thing is on the end right here, it will come a little bit too long. And again, I'm talking about just a tiny bit. The original Leatherman Wave right here is a little bit beveled for the spring action to take place. And so I had to trim the Rock Tool replacement blades you can get off their website, and we'll go into pricing in a little bit. And so I had to take this to the grinder, take a little bit off. You can get it so the spring sort of fits, but for the spring to fit all the way over like the original blade does, it does take a lot of precise grinding. When I say precise, what I mean is grind a tiny bit, put it all back together, take it off, grind it a little bit, because it is very easy to get a lot of wobble in the blade, and you want the firmest lockup possible, so you want it just that right amount. But with the right amount of patience, nothing about this is hard. It just takes patience, and then you're set to go with your new upgraded Leatherman Wave, which I think is really, really cool. Again, it really reminds me of the Leatherman Arc too, once you put that new blade in. All right, let's talk about pricing. Now, for the VG10, Rock Tool charges $12 for it, and for the S35VN, they charge around $30, $29.99. That's pretty amazing. I already talked about how this is revolutionary for Rock Tool, but now that you can, I think fairly easily, I would say, modify this to your Leatherman Wave, I think that's a game changer. And it makes the Leatherman Wave, I don't know if you'd say a lot more affordable, but it gives it a lot more options. And for some people, they might have felt like they had to buy the Charge or maybe the Arc because they wanted some more upgraded steel. But now with this, that gives even your old Leatherman Wave Plus, as long as it's a Wave Plus that's been laying around, gives it a lot more options. So for some of you who might be wondering, well, what's the difference between the Rock Tool blade and the Leatherman? One of the things I notice is there's a little bit, the blade doesn't come as far down on the Rock Tool as the Leatherman. So you can see right there, the blade is a little bit further up. Again, it did come with a little bit of extra metal on this one that I had to grind down. Obviously, the hole had to be, the pivot hole had to be ground down a little bit more. And then when it comes to this size, it is very close to the Leatherman Wave. Now, I have not used the Leatherman Wave thumb stud in this Rock Tool blade. I think it might be just a tiny bit off. It looks like it might be a tiny bit larger. And then probably the biggest difference is just in the blade geometry at the end right here. We see that it is definitely different than the original Leatherman Wave blade. So that is something that is different from the Rock Tool to the Leatherman Wave. It definitely seems to stick out in the Leatherman Wave. I don't know, maybe a little bit more. At least it doesn't have that slim, the way that it fits in your tool. So for instance, we've got on the Charge, and then it just sort of fits into the tool, where this one I think sticks out a little bit more. So I hope this video helps. I think it's pretty cool that this is a new option. Let me know what you think, and what should Leatherman add next, or what should these off brands offer next for the tools that might fit the Leatherman Wave. Let me know what you would like to see on your Leatherman Wave the most that isn't there.